Super Rugby, round number 11, folks. The teams have been named. Let's go through them. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how things are going to go as we head towards the kind of pointy end of the Super Rugby Pacific season. First game on the Friday sees the Hurricanes taking on the Waratahs. Hurricanes suffered their first defeat of the season last week away to the Brumbies, so it's another Aussie opponent for them, but one at the other end of the table, with the Waratahs being down in 11th. The Hurricanes still hanging on to that first spot. Hurricanes' policy of rotation continues, and it has served them really well thus far. How many changes have they got? New loose head with Rakete Stones, new hooker with Kiramu Symes, new number 6 with Devin Flanders. All these guys didn't feature for the Canes last week. Pere Laka gets promoted from the bench, Richard Judd likewise, Balin Sullivan, Riley Higgins. All these guys have been promoted from bench roles, plus other changes in the back line. See Billy Proctor captain the side from 13. Josh Morby's back at 14. So, yeah, a bit of rotation, the order of the day for the Canes. But as I said, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And sadly, there's a few guys, some big name guys out. Obviously, Cam Roigard, long-term injury. Asafa Amua out injured. So, yeah, they're having to kind of keep guys fresh as they rotate through the squad. For the Waratahs, they are rotating the squad, I think, partly to try and find something of a more winning combination. As I said, they've only won the 2 games, both of which against the Crusaders. Thompson Stringer comes in at loose head, and Harry Johnson-Holmes switches to tight head for this one. Fergus Lee Warner, kind of lock utility, loose forward player. He's in the second row for this one. High work rate guy, Hunter Ward, also getting the start at number 7, and a few tinkerings in the back line with Dylan Peach back available on the left wing. Sees Tristan Riley switch to the right, and then Mark Nawani Tawase switches to fullback for this one. The second of the Friday games is also a Aussie-Kiwi affair, with the Rebels hosting the Blues. The Rebels kept scoreless last week against the Crusaders. They'll be looking for an improvement there at home, and the Blues scraping through last minute up in Brisbane against the Reds. For the Rebels, they've made a whole new front row combo, with Kailea starting at loose head, Uelese and Tupou being promoted from the bench at hooker and tight head respectively. Tupou has largely been kind of a bench role guy, super sub for the Rebels this season, but he is getting to start this one, so Gibbon and Talakai dropped to the bench. They've also made a couple of changes in the back line, with Matt Proctor being back at 13. That means Filippo Dogunu switches to the wing for the Blues. Also a few changes. Ricky Riccitelli back into the 23 at hooker, and then PJ Sheck gets his Blues debut, so big congratulations to him. Hopefully he has a good game. Also backline-wise, Caleb Clark is back starting, so him and Talea forming a pretty awesome wing duo, if I do say so myself. AJ Lamb switches from the wing back into the midfield, and then the best news, maybe, is that the Cam Suafoa is back in on the bench after sitting out, getting some cancer treatment. So that is a heck of a bit of feel-good news for the Blues. I'm sure they'll be welcoming him back, and that'll kind of give a bit of motivation for these guys to hopefully, for my Blues, get another win across the ditch and keep the pressure on the Canes for that top spot. Akira Ioane, also in a bit of good news, is out, but for him it is paternity leave, so congratulations to him and his family. Saturday games, the first of which sees Moana Pacifica taking on the Highlanders, and also in good news, it's all good news, isn't it? We see this game's being played in Tonga. First time Moana Pacifica has played in Tonga, so for mine, that's a heck of a bit of good news. So congratulations to the administrators of the comp for getting that sorted. I feel like that's a good opportunity, and hopefully will go down really well. The Moana Pacifica boys, though, did lose in their last game up against the Drua, so they'll be looking to get back into the playoff hunt, having slipped out, being passed by the Highlanders, who they are facing. So it's 8th up against 9th for this one, so a really important game in terms of the playoff race. Same front row, though, for the Moana Pacifica boys. They've kept that at least a bit stable. A couple of changes in the back row, though, with Jacob Norris switching to 6, Sione Havili Talitui switching to 7, and then Loto Anisi promoted to number 8. So none of the back rowers with the same jersey numbers as they had last week. Likewise, Jonathan Taumateni and Christian Liliafano will form a new 9-10 combo, with William Havili switching to fullback for this one. For the Highlanders, like I said, that 1-point win over the Force got them into the playoff hunt. They are sitting there in 8th, so yeah, really important one for them over in Tonga against Moana Pacifica to not give points to their direct rival for this kind of final playoff spot. Dan Leonard-Brown's going to get a start for this one. Otherwise, the forward pack is unchanged, so one of the few coaches we see going for a bit of kind of player consistency. There is a change at 10 though, with Cam Miller being promoted. Reece Patchell's got an injury, so he is unavailable for this one, so he drops out of the 23. The rest of the back line unchanged. So yeah, the Highlanders, one of the few teams really trying to kind of, I guess, build a little bit of that chemistry between the guys. Ethan de Groot though is on All Blacks rest for this one. And yeah, if you want to see more about Falata Fakatava, he was actually on NZR Plus. Check the link out in the description for that. He talked about that game where he played down in Dunedin, which was Aaron Smith's final home game for the Highlanders, and the kind of role he played in that inside pass series. It's a good little tidbit to hear kind of his thoughts on that game. They've got other All Blacks doing the same thing, Geordie Barrett, and some non-All Blacks like Alex Nankerville as well. So yeah, check that out down in the description. Good to hear these guys giving a bit of insight into the game. Second of the Saturday games, Crusaders, who, as I say, with that playoff race, are currently out of it in 10th, but there's still enough games to go potentially for them to catch up. Big win over the Rebels last week, and they have kept things pretty stable, I guess. Also kind of building that bit of consistency. Blackadder still available. Leo Willie, who was great last week, still at number 8. Cullen Grace still at number 6. So the forward pack is the same, including the try-scoring Owen Franks continuing on the bench for this one. There are a few changes in the back line, though, the biggest of which sees Lee Halfpenny get his Super Rugby debut for the Crusaders at fullback. Remember, he got injured in the preseason, which was devastating for him, having come down to NZ to play some Super Rugby for the first time in his career, but better late than never. He's there at fullback, and David Havili is switching to 10 for this one, which means Johnny McNichol also shifting to the right wing to accommodate Halfpenny at fullback, and then Severis also swapping wings for that one. For the Reds, they'll be gutted to lose that one against the Blues at the death. They got Fraser McCright, though, back from his suspension. That's a bit of good news at 7. Hunter Paisami, his 50th cap for the Reds, so big congratulations to him. And Penny Ravai getting a start at loose head. So otherwise, forward pack is pretty stable. Lawson Crichton also gets the nod at 10 this week for the Reds. And then Tim Ryan is maybe the guy to watch. 3 tries in that losing effort against the Blues last week. Really looked the business in that game. Chiefs up against the Force is the penultimate game of the round. Chiefs 6-3, still 4th. Will be looking to kind of get as high as they can on the log come the kind of closing stages of the season. They got no Jimmy Tupou, no Sean Stevenson, no Tokiaho this week, so all unavailable. So there are kind of few enforced changes. Bradley Slater is going to start at hooker. Naitoa Akoi is also starting in the second row for this one, and a few kind of tinkerings in the back row, in the back 3, which sees Nana Saturo switch to fullback. Quinn Tupai is back in the midfield. Daniel Rona switches to the left wing, and it is a 6-2 split for the Chiefs this week. So maybe looking to boss things up front against the Force. For the Force, 1-point loss against the Highlanders will be a pretty bitter pill to swallow, but 7-6, both sides maybe left a few points out there. Josh Bartlett's going to get a start after being on the bench last week. Tom Franklin also into the 23 for this one, having missed out last week with injury. Also Jeremy Williams promoted from the bench to captain the side from the second row. The back line is largely unchanged, but Isaac finds Lelawasa gets a start at 9 with Nick White being injured. And Henry Robertson comes into the side as the reserve halfback. Final game sees the Brumbies, who really did their title credentials a bit of a boost, I guess, with that win over the Hurricanes, first side to beat them, especially having been beaten so badly the week before by the Blues. So really good position for the Brumbies to be in after that game. They've kind of erased those memories of that Blues game. They'll take on the Drua. Brumbies tend to be pretty bloody good at home, and the Drua maybe not so good on the road. So this one maybe looks like a foregone conclusion, but in Super Rugby this year, it is really hard to know. It's really quite an unpredictable one. They've got a few changes with Alan Alatoa captaining the side this week after making his return last week. Nick Frost also back into the 23. Jerome Brown is at 6, which means Rob Valentini switches to 8. And Ollie Sapsford on the wing switches to the left one for this one, with Muirhead promoted from the bench on the right. And for the Drua, Ikanavera being back as a boost for them. At hooker, also a couple of changes in the forward pack with Nasilasila and Miramira getting starts this week after missing out the week before. And then Junior Ratuva on the right wing with Ravu Tamanda, interestingly, switching to fullback for this one. It'll also be interesting because you've got both the Valentini boys playing in this one. One for the Drua, one for the Brumbies. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts on how the games are going to go. Check out the Inside Pass, New Zealand Rugby guys. speaking about rugby stuff in their own words. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts, and talk to you again soon. See you later.